Hey guys, welcome back. I'm going to be putting everything together on this cabinet now. Got a bag full of stuff over here. So this is the Pandora box that he gave me. So we're going to be putting this in. This is the wiring harness that he gave me out of one of his games. So we can go ahead and put that in. This is the this looks like the speaker wires that were cut. We'll have to probably lengthen those a little bit. So that's not a big deal. So those will be lengthened. And then this is all my buttons right here. Got some straps falling off. We can reuse these. So first thing I want to do is get this little PCB thing here mounted, but I want to kind of put it to where the buttons are pretty close. That looks pretty good there probably. Now these JAMA harnesses, the expensive ones, have a key right here so you can't plug it in backwards. Now this is still a good harness because it's all nicely labeled and everything, but it doesn't have a keyway in there. And you can plug this in backwards. If you put power to this side of the board, you're gonna fry it. All your power is always between this notch and over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The first 6 prongs are your power. So you gotta make sure that you put it in this way. So basically your first 2 prongs, when you plug this in, are ground. Your next 2 prongs are 5 volts. Your next prong is -5, and then your last one is 12 volts. -5 on this, you don't need it. So, certain JAMA games from the 90s used -5 for sound, but obviously in this case we don't need that. And then since everything's taped up, it's a little harder to see, but I know where everything goes. But this is your 5 volts, this is your ground, this is your 12 volts. So that's got to go to a power supply. So first thing I want to do is, let's get this mounted up here. Put a couple screws in. I'm trying to figure out which way I need to position it. Got to position it this way because there's a screw there and there. If I put it this way and just put those 2 screws in, it's going to be flopping. So we'll put it the other way. I'm using a real small drill just because that plastic, it'll crack pretty easily. So I don't want to. Now this is a used power supply. I believe it works. We'll have to check it, make sure we're getting voltages properly before I plug that board in. So I'm just seeing what I have here lengthwise for wire. And I think I'm going to throw the power supply right here. I like to keep them off the floor. If for some reason a flood happens or something like that, you never know. At least the electronics are not right up against the floor. You know, a lot of people, you only see them put it down at the bottom of the cabinet there. You get any sort of water or moisture off the floor, you're going to ruin your power supply. So I like to keep them up off the ground. Okay. Now I have a wire for the power already made up. It came off of a different game. But this is a 3-prong plug. So we have our power, our neutral, and our ground. And I already have forks on them and they're already heat shrinked, so we don't have to worry about that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plug this, get these three in here, plug this in, and we're gonna check our voltages on that power supply to make sure that we are getting the right voltage. And then on these, it doesn't really matter if, depending on how they're labeled, like this one's labeled FG, which is field ground, which is your green. And then the other two are just labeled AC and AC. So you can put your black and white either way, it doesn't really matter. Some of them have it labeled neutral, you know, it'll have an N and then it'll have an L for line. If it has an N, you put your white on there and the L would be your black for line. So let's put these on. Okay, I'm gonna go grab a multimeter and I'm just gonna plug this in and we will check voltages to make sure that it is properly putting out the right voltages. If it's not, I'll go grab another used one. Okay, let me get it turned on, power strip here. See if the light, I don't know if this one has a light. Might not have a light on this one. I don't see a light. But let's see if we have power. Let's check our 5 volts obviously and 12 volts. And it doesn't want to sit up there. I was kind of hoping that it would sit up there so you could see it. So our ground's here. Let's try our 12 volts. We're at 10.5. Let's check our 5 volts. 4.9. So let's turn that up a little bit. I'm going to take it up to 5.1. I'm just going to use my knife here to turn that little dial in there. Now the 12 volts will be a little low. I think that it goes up once it starts getting a little bit of a draw. Okay, I'm going the wrong way. 5.1. It's good there, because if it draws a hair, it's going to take it down right down to about 5. So we know that we're good there, and our 12 volts, I'm not too concerned about it. At 10.9, that should be just fine. These don't take barely any power. I'm surprised they're even using 12 volts. I don't really know what they're using the 12 volts for, because 5 volts should be more than sufficient to run that game. So, all right, we can turn that off. We know that works. And we can get the JAMA harness put into the power strip here. Once again, our black is our ground. Took our ground up first. Okay, we're not going to use the other ground, so we're going to tighten that up. We're not going to use the -5, so we'll tighten that up. Okay, and we just have our red is 5 and yellow is 12. So we'll get our red put in. Stupid thing. Then our 12 volts, which is our yellow. Now, you want to always look at your wiring, your JAMA harness. If you have a JAMA harness that is not labeled and it's like a Chinese one and they maybe possibly used a different color, you always want to make sure that you put 5 volts only. If you stick this red wire on the 12 volts, you're going to fry that board in there. So you want to always make sure you put it on correctly. And just don't assume that the colors are always right, because they can be wrong. I have seen them wrong in the past. But I verified it when I showed you guys that it was ground, 5 volts, which is the red wire is 5 volts. So just verify it. You know, you can go online and download a JAMA harness wiring diagram, and it'll tell you exactly pin 1 through 28, I think it is. And it'll give you the breakdown on what pin 1 does, 1 through 28. And then the bottom side is A through whatever letter, Z or whatever it is. I don't know how far it goes. But anyways, so that's done there. This is for our control panel. All this mess of wire here. Now, JAMA harness uses one ground for all the buttons. Most games do. It just jumps from one button to the next. And that's what all this does here. These are all the grounds for the buttons. Now, I know from experience that, now I'll say it wrong because I don't remember. I sort of remember. I haven't wired up a JAMA game in a while. This is button 6. This black wire here, you're gonna think it's a ground wire. It's not. They put a knot in it. That's button 6, okay? Now, I know from experience that the brown wire is your player start button. And also, another thing to think about, this ground wire for all the buttons is always on your player 1 side. Okay, so this is our player 1 harness here. This is player 2. The ground always comes out of the player 1 because this ground wire goes all the way back to there, where those ground wires are. So we know that this is the player 1 side. Like I said, I know that the brown button is our start button. I don't remember if blue or purple is A or B. Let me look. Okay. Blue is 1, purple is 2. Then how does it go on this one? Then it goes gray and white. So button 3 is gray, button 4 is white. Then we have pink for button 5, and then black with the knot is button 6. The other 4 ones are left, right, up, and down, which are green, yellow, think here. Orange, there it is. Orange is my other one. So these are up and downs. Up and down are red and orange. Right and left are green and yellow. So let's go ahead and I'm going to stick this up here. I'm going to kind of shove it through the speaker hole right now. I'll grab it once I take that control panel off. I got to go get the artwork for the control panel in the house in a few minutes here, so that we can get that done. But we have plenty of wire, so apparently this is how it was in the other cabinet. So we're just gonna take a couple of these clamps here. I'm gonna grab some shorter screws. We don't need a 3/4 inch long screw for that. Okay, I grabbed some like 3/8 long screws. I like to try to make my wiring pretty neat, so it's not all just a big ball of wire everywhere. Okay, I'm going to stick one on this power wire here just to kind of hold it a little bit. Let me go grab some double-sided tape. Actually, let's get the power strip in here first. I put a black marker here. That's where that hole is in the back door. So I want to align this switch up with that black line. And I want to make sure that my power strip's in at least a 1/2 inch back. So now, that's the reason why I drilled that hole so far in, so that when the back's on, you can just reach in here and flip that switch on, flip it back off. That's how you can turn your game on and off without having to worry about unplugging and plugging it in every time. I need to grab a marker so I can mark where to put these mounting screws. And I'm gonna have to go grab some screws that'll fit into this plate here. So let me go grab that stuff. I'm gonna grab some double-sided tape so that we can get the monitor in there as well. So I'll be right back. All right. These should fit in here. They'll just slide in like that. You know what I might just do? I might just hold these, put these in here. If I can get this one in. Just pushing into the wood to leave a little bit of a mark here. I don't think I grabbed my marker, but I think I can see it. One there and one up there. So let's put these screws in. Got to leave it a little bit of a room so it has room to slide onto the screw head. There we go. Might have to tighten the screws up a little bit more. Okay, now it's a tight fit. I'm gonna have to bring the cord like that and then out. Probably gonna have to go in the house and get some more of these clamps or zip ties, whichever. There, and we'll put one down here. I have a DeWalt one of these, and it doesn't have a trigger like this. It does, but it doesn't. On the DeWalt, you hold the trigger, but you have to twist the drill, and then it'll go whichever direction you twist it. So I keep doing that on this one, thinking it's the DeWalt one. But anyways, we have that wire fastened nicely. This is obviously long, but we'll group this together here and put another loop on it, just to kind of hold it in place nice and clean. Just like that, we're gonna take some electrical tape around it. Maybe, if I can get it off the roll. Yeah. Okay. And then, take another one of these plastic clips. And then just put a screw into it to hold it onto the wall. That'll keep it from flopping around in the cabinet. Okay, so that's in, out of the way. We have our monitor plug, our VGA plug. Let's get that screwed in here. Now you can put a Pandora box on a CRT monitor. If you're going to do that, you got to use your wires in your JAMA harness for your video sync and your ground, and then your red, green, and blue. They'll be on the harness here. It's been cut off of this harness, but it'll have an actual separate plug for the harness. But if you're using an older CRT, you'll more likely have to cut that plug end off and put your own plug end on it. All right, so now we can get the monitor in. It's a little dusty, but I can wipe it off before I put the plexi on. So what I'm gonna do with this monitor is, hopefully you guys can see, there already was tape on here. I'm just gonna leave that on there. We're gonna take 3M double-sided tape and we're just gonna go over top of this tape. I don't feel like trying to peel it off. And this is some pretty sticky tape. It's used for automotive to hold moldings on cars, so it actually adheres really well. So I'm just put the double-sided tape on. I'm going to peel the red off. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and then we can get this stuck into place. I'm going to go around the front and stick this into the cabinet. Yeah, I'm going to push it down real good. Okay. Hopefully I have enough room for this VGA plug. Might not. Okay, I'm gonna have to notch this wood right here a little bit so that that plug will go in. Let's see if the power will go in. Might fit. I'm just gonna notch them both. I'm not gonna mess with it. Let me go grab a saw real quick. Okay, I'm gonna use my multi-tool and we're gonna make 2 little notches so that those power cords don't hit that wood. blow this out before I put the plexiglass and stuff on, just to make sure there's no remaining dust that's going to end up getting stuck between the plexiglass and the monitor. Okay, there's our power cord. Okay. Right. This we're going to plug in. Do the second plug down because we still have a marquee light to put in. Try and get this wire in here. Okay. Take the rest of it and do what I did with the other one. You could zip tie it too. Okay. This, I don't think I'm gonna mess with that. Maybe I'll put one clamp. Okay, the only thing left I have to do is run the marquee light wire down over here, plug that in, and then that'll be done. I guess we should do that real quick. Grab the marquee light. What I'm using is just a under cabinet fluorescent light bulb. Little housing. I think this came from Walmart at some point. It was like 10 bucks. I'm going to take the bulb out of it because I need to screw it into the cabinet up top, but I can do that afterwards. So I'm just going to set it up in here, and there's a hole drilled in the cabinet already for the wire to come down. there. So then I need to come over here and hold this wire, plug it in right here. After this, the only thing that's left to wire are the buttons. But we're going to turn it on and make sure that the gain power's on. I like to take all my clamps and go all the same direction with them, within reason. There's a certain way that I like to put them. Let's put it that way. Like if I don't want it to, if the wire's hanging this way, I put the screw at the top. I don't want to put the screw on the bottom. Okay, so all it needs done now is just that light fixture screwed in. Let's let me get this spun around and then we'll get it plugged in. All right, let me hit the power button. We'll see if it works. See if we get the monitor to turn on and stuff. Green light's on the monitor. There we go, Pandora Box 5S. Sweet. It's on free play already, so that's awesome. So now what we can do is get our control panel going, get that done, get all the buttons working, then we just got to put the artwork on it, and this thing will be pretty much wrapped up. Okay, I'm going to wipe this control panel down. I'm going to leave it in here to put the artwork on it. Just got to wipe it down with some Safeway window glass cleaner. Like I said, we just made up some generic artwork, nothing super fancy or anything. So this is going to go on here, just like that, and then we'll cut out the buttonholes. Let me grab a Bondo spreader here so we can stick this on. All right, see if we can possibly do this in here, in the cabinet, rather than taking it out. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip this over. Now this has a polycarbonate laminate on it, and that'll keep from scratching up the artwork. Now, if you want, you can use soapy water or stuff like that, but I don't usually use it. Okay, gotta go that way a little bit. And I haven't pushed it down, so it's not like it's really stuck. That's close enough. That's close enough. So now what I'm going to do is work this half in. Just running my knife on the edge of the wood. Okay, now we just got to cut out the buttonholes, which are really easy. You just poke it and spin it around the hole. And then we can start putting our joysticks and buttons in. We'll probably do the buttons first. I just grabbed 6 buttons of 2 different colors that I had a bunch of. I believe I have red and yellow is what I'm using out here. We'll do red for player 1 and yellow for player 2. And I'm just using black Hap joysticks. Okay, all our buttonholes are cut. Now we can start applying the buttons on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out of here. I'm going to flip it over. And we can start pushing the buttons in and putting the nuts on. Grab all my red ones first. And this is player 1 side. That's my joystick hole, so I don't want to put a button there. I do have a tool to tighten the nuts if I need to, but usually I can hand tighten them and they're just fine. All right, I'm gonna do this and then I'll come back. I'm not gonna video me screwing in all the buttons. So let me get these done and then we'll come back and we'll put the joysticks in, which I'm just gonna screw into this wood because it's 3/4 of an inch thick. Okay, I don't know what I missed on the video here, but my phone quit recording. Okay, well anyways, I had this flipped over and I centered this in the hole. Okay, and then I traced, once I was happy with where it was at, I traced around the outer edge of the joystick so that I could set it on here. It's going straight and we can put our screws in here. I'll end up just doing the other side on camera too, because I don't know at what point did it stop with the recording. So you get a screw in here. Now you're probably wondering how these hold up since they're not bolted all the way through. I've never had one rip out. Like I said, it's 3/4 inch wood. I'm using 3/4 inch long screws because we have this 3/16 flange right here. So the screw's not gonna go through the outside. And if for some reason, let's say the kid ripped off this joystick off the bottom of the control panel, you can always drill through it and put carriage bolts. It's not the end of the world. Okay, let me find my parts that I dropped for this joystick. We'll put this one back together and then we'll do the other side. This goes in. Every joystick's different, every brand is different. These are not a Hap, these are like an off-brand, but whatever. So this goes in, this goes on here like that. Goes in this direction. The taper goes towards the shaft end. Then we have to stick this in here from top below. Oh, I also have my dust shield on. Okay, and we're gonna kind of hold it in place. Now this, it's either 4-way or 8-way. The fatter side, if you put the fatter side down, okay, it is now considered a 8-way joystick. If it goes skinny side, then it's a 4-way joystick because you won't be able to push both ways at the same time. So you want the fatter side down because this Pandora box has a lot of fighting games and everything needs to be 8-way joystick. It'll be a little bit harder to play Pac-Man and stuff like that, but once you get used to it, it'll be fine. So what I'm doing is I have the other side of that joystick pushed on a piece of wood, and I've got this halfway clipped in. I'm just going to use the back side of my knife here. I wouldn't recommend using a knife. I just don't have a screwdriver on me, so that's why I'm doing that. Okay, so this one's done. So this joystick's in. Now we just got to do the other side. I'm going to show you real quick because I think the camera had stopped recording when I started the other side. So once again, I'm going to take this clip off the bottom here by simply pushing down on this black spacer here. So I'm going to push down on it and I'm going to pry this E clip off of here. Just like that. Put it off to the side. We'll take our 4 or 8-way adjuster. We'll take all this out. And actually this one had this in upside down. This goes this way. Okay, so now what I'm going to do again, like I did on the other side, is we're going to position this. And I'm flipping it over for a minute so that I can look inside this hole and get that centered in there. Once I feel that it's centered, I'm going to flip it back down and look at it. I want to make sure the joystick is going straight with the control panel, because if the joystick's going crooked with the control panel, when you go to use your joystick, it's just going to seem funny. So right there. So now I'm going to mark a line around the outer edge. Just like that, and then I can screw that in. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then I'll be back. Okay, I just made a quick chart here just so I don't forget personally myself. We're gonna plug in these buttons and joysticks now. I need to put that joystick together real quick. But red is up, orange is down, yellow is left, green is right, blue is button 1, purple is button 2, gray is button 3, white is button 4, pink is button 5, black is button 6. So let me put this other joystick together, and then we'll get some micro switches out, and I'll show you the difference between 2 different style micro switches, and then we will get these plugged in. The game is still powered on. It's not going to hurt it one bit to put these on while the game is plugged in. If you don't feel comfortable with it, then turn the game off. But there's no power going through these wires to cause any harm to the game itself. So I'm going to hold this joystick up there. Remember, I'm going to put my fat side down so it's an 8-way. Okay, I got the clip started. There we go. All right. Okay, I have this upside down. I know that red's player 1. Now we have 2 different style micro switches. I have a whole box of them, and I actually even have more than this. Okay, now this is a 2-wire micro switch, okay? If you look, this is your ground down here, and over here, if there was a top prong, let me show you the difference here. Try to do this a little bit easier here, okay? All right, for instance, this has 3 prongs total. This only has 2 prongs total. Ground, ground. This is what you want to connect your wires to. Your blue, your purple, your white, your pink. You want to go to this terminal here. Now the difference is this says NO, which means normally closed. Okay, above it, on this one, it says NC. I think that means normal contact or whatever. So if you plug your blue wire into here and your ground into here, it's going to act like this button's being always pushed. Okay, so that means normally closed. That's what it is. Normally closed and normally open. So normally closed is the top one. So you don't want to use that, because then it's like this button being pushed down and held down all the time. So you want to go on the bottom one where it says normally open, so that when the button gets pressed, it completes the circuit. So the top prong is basically just draw it as a line that's connected. So the top one's always connected to the ground. The bottom one is not connected until the button's pushed. So hopefully that helps you guys out a little bit figuring that out. So basically I need 6 and 6 is 12 plus 2. I need 14 of these. I'd like to try to use all the same kind if I have them, but let's see what we have here. Six, 7, that will do one whole side. I'm going off the same name and everything too, so that they all match. 3. Okay. So we have our 14 micro switches. And what I am going to do is just put them all in. I think I'm gonna put the wires on them before I put them in place. Now remember how I said the one with the ground wire coming out of it that goes to all the buttons and everything is your player 1. And now that we know that player 1 is red, we can go ahead and start. We'll get our chart down here just so we don't forget. Blue is our player 1 button. And our player 1 is going to be right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to take my blue wire, put it on the bottom terminal on the side of the 2. Okay, and then we have our ground wire right here. That goes on there. And we can just put this right into place. I got to make sure I'm doing this right. Was I wrong there? that's the first button. I'm looking at it upside down, so. And then what I do is I take my bottom hole, put it in, and then your top one goes in. I just push the button so the screen moved. That's okay, we don't have the speaker hooked up right now. Okay, so that's player 1, button 1. This will be button 2, which is purple. Same thing. Grab that, grab our ground. Button 3 would be gray. Oop, almost plugged it in the wrong terminal. You'll know if you plug one in on the wrong terminal because it'll just, that button will just stick on and the game won't work right. A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay. So our fourth one is white. I got it backwards. You know what, I should do this differently with the ground wires. I'm gonna redo the ground wires. I'll show you why. Okay, the reason why I'm gonna redo the ground wires is, let me get the rest of the other ones on first. So now we need pink. And then black, the one with the knot. Okay, then we have our player 1 start, which is the brown wire. Okay, this is probably one too many unless I don't remember how I counted it. Now, it gets a little confusing is the up, down, right, left. We're looking at this backwards. So it's going to be opposite. Okay, so pushing up, that's the top of the control panel there. So if I push up, this is the up one. You would think that's the up one, but it's not. So this is up, this one's down. So this one's up right here, which is our red wire. So we'll put our red wire on our micro switch here. Okay, that we know that's down because it's exactly opposite from it. That's our orange. And then we have left and right left, which once again, that'll be backwards. Our left is yellow. So we need to pretend like this is in place here. So if I were to go left, it would be that way. So left is this one here, and that one's right. So left is yellow. And this joystick's acting funny. I might have to take it apart again afterwards. It seems like it's sticking. Maybe I do have that in upside down the thing. Okay, now I'm gonna start with the ground wire over here. The reason being is I'm gonna go like this and I'm gonna go around the joystick, which I need to tighten this one up. This one's loose. You can tighten these up pretty easily by just pushing down on them a little bit. You can use pliers, but I notice sometimes when you use pliers, you really smash it down. I don't really, on my old games, I solder all these together, but on something like this, I don't, because if somebody gets this game and one of the micro switches go bad, it's extremely easy for somebody to just change it out. So now what I'm doing is I'm coming over to the buttons here. Now I'm gonna jump down, up and down to these buttons. We'll go back up to this one. You know what I forgot is the player 1 start. wonder if I can get up to that and then back down to here. Yes, I can. This black wire is extra. We don't need that one. It's just a ground wire. Probably use it for the start button if we had to. Okay, those are all on. Now we can jump our ground over to this side. And we can repeat the process with the grounds. And then I'll once again do the same thing through these buttons here, end up with my last one on the player to start. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing to this side, just put the wires in, and then we'll flip it over and see if it works. Okay, all the wires are run, all plugged in. Let's get this flipped over. I'm not going to zip tie these up. I'm gonna let them hang there because if somebody needs to get in there to fix something, I don't have to worry about taking a bunch of stuff apart. Okay, now that we have that in place, still gotta screw it in from underneath. Let's check and see if these joysticks are working. So there's our up, down. If you go to the right, it jumps 10 at a time. Same thing with the left, which this left is not working. Yeah, something's wrong with this joystick. I gotta take that one apart. This one feels better. Still, both of them feel a little floppy. Maybe that is an upside down, that one piece. Let me mess with that real quick. I'll be right back. All right, I took this joystick out. I had this going this way because I thought that's how it went, but I'm gonna try it this way and see if that doesn't stiffen it up and make it feel a little better. Okay, those feel a lot better. They were just weird feeling. It was like move it over and it would click and like kind of want to stay there. Okay, now I need to find a game that's going to use all 6 buttons, which I believe all the Street Fighters use all 6 buttons. So let's just select one of these here. I think I gotta hit the A button. I don't remember how to start the game. I'll have to look at that. Might have to change the settings. I don't remember how to get into the game. I'm all plugged in. This is button A. It's right here, first one. I thought if you use the button A to select the game. Might have to get into the menu and see how it's set up, because I really truly don't know. What happens if I hit A and start? It says loading, but it goes back to that. Why is it doing that? Let me put it in, let's put it in the other mode here. Go? Nope. All right, give me a minute here. Okay, I got into the menu screen here and select game mode, any auto exit after 3 minutes, exit game menu, exit game mode, you have to hit menu. I don't know what that means. I'm not real familiar with these too much anymore. Start plus coin. Don't want to do that. I might have to add another button. Select game mode with coin or any. I really don't know. Start plus coin. That's to exit the game. See what happens. I don't know why it's not working. want to see if I can just pick any game. It said any button. It's not working. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. Well, I'm gonna have to investigate this a little bit and then I'll be back. Okay, remember how I said if you put one of those wires on the wrong terminal, it was gonna keep the button stuck on at all times. My player one start, I shoved the brown wire on the wrong terminal, so it was basically just being held down the whole time, and that's why I couldn't select the game. Obviously, I don't have a speaker hooked up yet, but I want to check the controls and see if this works, and I'm pretty positive that these Street Fighter games all use 6 buttons. So let's just pick a lower one because that would be a little bit more of a newer one. Now, if we just hit the A button, or first button, whatever you want to call it, that will get you into the game. And I still got to hook up a ground wire, I think, for the player 2, because I think I was one short. But let me see if this black wire will work or not. Not sure if that'll work. So it says press player 1 or 2 to start. Yeah, that one's not going to work yet, so I'm only going to be able to do a player 1. I need to run one more wire over to there because I'm one short. Yeah, it's not going to let me. Maybe I can jump it real quick just to test it, and then I can fix that afterwards. Do I have a ground wire I can steal for a second? And it'll reach over here? Of course not. Be nice to start the player 2 up. There we go. Okay, there we go. Now I can check buttons on both guys and joystick and everything. So I'm just gonna pick whatever. I'm not really worried about it. Okay, let's see if it works. By having it on 2-player, you don't have to worry about the computer kicking your ass while you're trying to check your controls. Okay, it doesn't want to go that way yet. That's probably just a wire that's loose, because I need to tighten up some of these terminals because they feel like crap. Oh, yep, the ground wire came off. I'm gonna go back and re-crimp everything and make sure everything's tight. That's why I don't use these connectors, because they can fall off. Okay, so now we have back, forward, up, down. So all those work with him. Let's try the other guy. Back, forward, up, down. Okay, let's try our buttons. A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, all they work. A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, everything's working. So that's all I need to do is run one more ground wire over to the player 2 start, and then I'll get that hooked up off camera. It's not a big deal. I'm just jumping one more wire over to the player 2 start, and then after that we'll get the speaker in, and then it's just some cosmetics and putting the back on. So I will be back in a little bit. Okay, I got the speaker hooked up. It's a little loud right now. I'll have to lower it a little bit. I want to get the marquee light plugged in. But before I do that, or not plugged in, screwed in. If you push and hold down player 1 start, it'll take you back out into the main menu. In the main menu, there is no attract mode to worry about. So I just need to get this screwed in. Okay. Make sure this bulb works. Beautiful. Okay, so all that's left to do now is the speaker's not screwed in yet. I got to screw that in. But first thing I need to do is I need to get the plexiglass for this and that cut, and then get the artwork on it, and then we could put it on the cabinet. So I'm going to do that next, and then got to put the artwork on the lower front that we just made, kind of similar to the control panel, nothing crazy. Put that on down there, and that should be the end of it. So I'll be back in a little while to finish it up. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can cut this plexiglass with my knife rather than my table saw, which I usually use, because sometimes the table saw will chip this stuff. So I'm gonna see, I already drew my line on it. I'm gonna see if I can score it a couple times and crack it. Hopefully it cracks. If it doesn't, I'm probably gonna ruin the piece. I'm not using a straight edge, I'm eyeing it. I do have a new knife blade in here. I went a little off right there, but it's not going to matter because I'm going to put vinyl over it. So you're not going to see it. Okay, now that we have that cut, we are going to go back out to the game and mark where the screen goes next here. Let me turn the camera off for a second. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this up here. Slides behind the control panel. Just like that. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write front. There's plastic on both sides, so it's not like we need to worry about it. I'm going to bring here to here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the corners on this side, and then I'll flip it over, and we'll cut out the outer edge of the plastic. And then we can spray paint it. So now I have all four. I know that this is the top. So now I have to go get a straight edge and we need to cut this. So let me get that set up. Okay, so now I'm going to take my straight edge and go from mark to mark. And I'm going to very gently cut through the plastic only. If you make a little scratch, it's not a big deal because it's getting painted and there's going to be vinyl on it. So what I'm doing here is I'm just scoring this edge. Stupid spiders on here. I'm sure I'm in the way of the camera, but okay, let's see if we can get the plastic off of the perimeter. We'll leave it in the center. Okay, now the center is protected where the monitor is. Now we can take spray paint. We're going to spray paint the outer perimeter. So I'm going to go get set back up out there. We'll just use the garbage can or something to spray it on. Okay, now the cool thing about this, because you're painting the back side of the plexiglass, Lexan, whatever you're using, you can use any sheen of paint you want. This is satin black. It's still going to turn out gloss on the front side. I do have some vinyl I'm going to put on the front side, so I don't know if a lot of this is going to show, but I'm doing it just to be on the safe side. So basically just going to put on a thin coat, let it set up for about 10 minutes, and then put another coat on. You just want to get coverage so that you can't see through it. You do not need to sand it. It'll stick really well. And you don't have to worry about the center because you were able to leave that piece of plastic on there. I always try to spray my paint away from the edge, not into the edge, because if you spray it into the edge, you run the risk of it going underneath the plastic and the paint bleeding underneath the plastic. So if you notice, I'm going away from the edge. And the cool thing is if you're not gonna put artwork on your screen, you can paint this whatever color you want. You want it red, you want it blue, you want it yellow. You can do whatever you want. You can get creative with it, which is pretty cool. Now, like I said, I'm not putting it on real thick, just doing a light coat. And what this coat's doing right now for the next 5-10 minutes is kind of just like biting into the plastic. It's kind of eating itself into the plastic and you know, adhering itself. So I'm gonna let that sit for about 5-10 minutes and then we'll come back and put another coat on. Okay, I'm gonna put the second coat on. I might have to go get another can because this one's just about out. And then this has got to sit for about an hour. Yep, I'm out. All right, I'm gonna go get another can, put the rest of the black on there, and then in a little while, I'll be back to work on that. One more quick thing, don't worry about it if you get dirt in the paint. It's not gonna show through on the other side. Okay, now while I'm waiting for that screen to dry, I wanna put the artwork on this lower bottom here. I'm gonna try to do it with my one knee. It's gonna be kind of hard because I can't kneel down on my left knee at all. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this in the upright position rather than laying the cabinet down, and hopefully it'll work out all right for me. The good thing is the cabinet's painted black, so if I end up a hair off, it shouldn't really matter. It should be just fine there. So now I got the top in place. I'll cut the white edge off afterwards. A little bubble there. See, I like doing the artwork in the upwards position rather than the cabinet laying down, because I get less bubbles that way. If it's laying down, you'll get more bubbles because you trap air in it as you lay the piece of vinyl down. This way, it kind of relaxes down a little bit easier. That turned out nice. I just got to cut the edges. Then it's all we have left is the screen bezel and the marquee, and this job will be done. Let me see if I can just do this with my knife freehand. I'm running my finger on the edge of the cabinet. Now I'm using the floor with my hand to draw a straight edge. There we go. So now we just have the screen and the marquee left, which I got to get a piece of plexiglass. I think I have a piece somewhere. I have to cut it down to size, and then we can put the artwork on that as well, which says the same thing as the lower art. And we put a textured laminate on this as well. This is regular vinyl. I got little bubbles in the laminate, but it'll come out. This is regular vinyl. It'll still shine through, just not as much as like a Translite, which we could have printed one on that, but I wasn't gonna switch the material on the printer and everything else. So, all right, I'm gonna let that dry. I'm gonna grab some dinner, come back, we'll get this thing finished up. Okay, I've got a piece of plexiglass cut for the marquee. This is the marquee here. Let's get this installed real quick. And then we can do the screen bezel and get both of those mounted, and then we should be done. Other than a few things I'm going to do off camera, like mount the speaker and stuff like that, because it's underneath the cabinet and it's really not much to see. So I'm going to use these little spring clamps here. Clips, clamps, whatever you want to call them. Just to hold this to the plexiglass. And I could tell that already that I'm crooked, so. That's pretty good there. Okay, that looks pretty good there. Grab a pair of scissors. And I moved it. Not bad. Couple little bubbles I need to get out. Okay, so that's ready. Now we need to do the screen bezel, which that we're going to do a little differently. There's a couple bubbles in the polycarbonate, the laminate on top of the artwork. All right. Okay, this is the front side. We need to take this plastic off first. And then we're going to spray some window cleaner on the center of the screen where it is not going to get covered. Now this artwork's not going to completely cover all the black area because we cut it, we made it before we knew what size monitor was going to go in the cabinet. So it is going to be a little off, but it should be just fine. So basically my black paint comes down to here, but this stops there, but it'll be all right. Yeah, it'll be fine. Give it a little bit of character, give it something. So let me go grab my window spray real quick. These are a pain in the butt to put on without getting wrinkles on them. So hopefully we can get it on there somewhat decent looking. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is peel off this clear film off the whole entire piece. And you can see how shiny that is, that black. I might need to do a hair of touch-up, but oh no, that's a reflection. That's just a reflection from the light. Okay. So now, what we're going to do is get this laid on here, cut it down a little bit. Okay, that looks pretty good right there. Okay, what I'm going to do is peel this back to here. Not sure if I'm going to use the window cleaner or not. Maybe I'll just put it where the screen is visible. Now, I'm going to use scissors to cut this. You want to make sure you're off of the plexiglass. Don't drag your blade or your scissors on the plexiglass because you will put a scratch in it. Let's just see what happens here. What I'm going to do is try not to press too much where the, there's going to be some air bubbles in it. They will go away. I'm not going to press where the monitor goes real hard because I don't want it to really stick down hard right there because I need to peel it back off. And that's a lot of times I'll use the window cleaner in this area here to keep it from sticking. But I try not to use it too much because I've always found when using fluid like rapid tack, which is a fluid that you put down before you put your vinyl down, so that if you need to reposition your vinyl you can, because it leaves it's how do I put this? It leaves it like movable because it's slippery. I don't really like using rapid tack because the rapid tack, in my opinion, leaves bubbles underneath the finish and it just doesn't seem like they really want to come out. So I try not to use that stuff as much as possible. We have it, we just don't really use it too often. using my hand rather than my spreader because I can get the air bubbles out a little bit easier because the heat from your skin will help take them out. Got a little bit of a wrinkle right here. And I got one little crease. Could probably work most of it out if I want to. But for the most part, we are down pretty good. Okay, so now I'm going to take my knife and cut the white section out. I'm going to follow my line. Don't want to push real hard, just enough to cut through the vinyl. You can use a straight edge for sure, if you need one. Okay, let me get this all cleaned up and I'm going to trim around the edges and then we can get it put on the cabinet. Okay, I'm going to get this monitor cleaned. And then we can put the screen bezel on, the marquee, and then we will pretty much be done. I got to put the back on and then just screw down the control panel. I want to tighten those couple wires so they don't fall off. But other than that, that's pretty much it. Okay, I got that clean. I have this sitting out here. I'm not going to clean the outside of it right now. Flip it over and just do the back side. Okay, I'm going to take some double-sided tape here, and that's what's going to hold this screen onto the cabinet. I only got a little bit left in this roll, so I guess I'll put it a little piece down here. It gets tucked behind the control panel, the bottom of it, so not too worried about it. I'll have to get another roll out of my van to do the marquee, which the marquee is not too bad because it gets cut in half, the width-wise. So now I got to peel all this off. This is going to be a pretty long video. But basically, you know, I put this whole thing together, completely done, in probably less than a full day, if I added up the hours I have into it. A couple hours last night, a couple hours today. Okay. Got this stupid piece of plastic stuck on there, but you can see how that looks now. Kind of finishes it off a little bit. So now, need to do the marquee, so let me go grab some double-sided tape. All right, let's get this marquee on the garbage can over here. What I'm going to do is just overlap it halfway. And if you're wondering if that bulb goes bad in the marquee, how can you get to it? There's a back panel that comes off. So if you take the back panel off, you can get to the marquee light. So this piece I'm cutting off, use on the other side here. Do the same thing on the edges here. Okay, let's get it peeled and stuck on the cabinet. After that, I'm going to end this video because we'll turn the game on. But I got to screw in the speaker, screw down the control panel with some L brackets, then just put the back on the cabinet and it's done. I'm not painting the back or anything like that. It's going to go up against the wall. It'll be just fine. Okay, let's turn the cabinet on. Let's turn the light off and we'll see if we can see that marquee somewhat. See? Oh. See how you can still see through that vinyl? And that's a gray back vinyl and the light still shows through it. It's not perfect, but it's good. And I did put the speaker, it is hooked up. It's a little too loud, like I said before, but. And like I said, if you want to go back into the main menu, just hold player 1 start. Takes you back out there. All right, guys, well, that's going to end this one. It was just a quick build. for a couple kids, young kids that get to play some arcade games now. And other than that, the next thing you're going to see me work on is going to be the Paperboy. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. If you're liking what you're seeing, please like, subscribe, share. Any questions or comments, feel free to ask. Also, I do have automotive shirts in stock. I do not have anything arcade related yet. Haven't figured out what I want to do. But if anybody's interested in a car shirt, let me know. I'll probably put a couple pictures somewhere on my YouTube channel. I'll have to figure out where I can put them. I do have an email address on my main description on my page. It's at the bottom. So if somebody is interested and wants to email me or whatever, feel free. They're $24.95 shipped in the US. Outside the US, I'm not sure what it would cost for shipping. So that would be something I'd have to look into. So all right, guys, I really appreciate you watching, and I will see you guys later.